All right, well, let's begin. Today we have an exciting topic, is the art of how to create high-performing assortment. But before we dive in, I'd like to just take a few seconds to introduce myself to some of you guys. Some of you guys already have been in my roundtables. I've had one-on-ones with quite a few of you guys on this call today, so that's phenomenal. So thank you for coming back. It's really important to continue to build the community so that we could be able to learn from one another. But for people who don't know who I am and why I'm doing this, so I've been doing this, being in the fashion industry for over 26 years. I've been started off as a designer in designer shoes, worked myself up into building a actual brand, sustainable, convertible clothing brand on my own budget. So was an solo entrepreneur, like many of you guys were at one point or are currently today. So absolutely fully understanding of how to build a brand on a small budget, but yet make it to official, effective, and be able to drive it to conversion. Meanwhile, been for 16 years helping companies, small to big, depending on their need, building their private label, building their brand, helping them to create assortments, set on the merchandising chairs. We've been working on the buying side. So really unique experience where we can actually divert being from the manufacturing side to the retail side and vice versa. So very transparent and cross-works with what I'm able to offer and do. And the reason I'm doing roundtables is because I'm very passionate about fashion industry and the success of our next generation as to come and what the fashion industry will be. So wanted to really put great minds alike, executives into one room so that we could be able to discuss different topics. Every month we have different topic that we're discussing, hopefully bring some ideas. It is a completely going to be a great event as much as you guys want to participate in it. So please feel free to add your ideas, share your challenges, so we can brainstorm solutions together with all of us on the call today. So as we are starting to kind of unveil, I usually love to always start with talking a little bit about some of the current wins around building a high assortment, a high performing assortment, so that we can celebrate as well as learn from it, so that before we dive into challenges. So let's spend a little bit of time just if you guys can, all of you guys drop in the chat a particular win that you're proud of, that is around building a high performing assortment that you've done for your company. If you're just starting up and you haven't done it, that's okay too. So just can just let us know, so then we can be able to maybe hopefully gravitate towards and ask you maybe what your current challenges are, so we can solve those as well. So let's start with some of the wins. Meanwhile, Hugh, I'm going to pick on you since I haven't seen you for a while. And I know you've probably been very busy on lots of new developments of what you've been working on. So maybe you start with sharing some of your current win that you are proud of and you may want to share with the group.
So we make high performance unisex rainwear. Everybody knows what a poncho is. That's unisex, but very few people have ever brought a unisex rain jacket to market, and we've done it. And our first retailer, the good news is it was Walmart. The bad news, it was Walmart, and everybody knows that story. But we did just get into Macy's online, and who have 44 million customers and get 6 million hits on their website a day. But half of their revenue is online and half is brick and mortar, which really shows you the way people are buying. And brick and mortar is still going to be there, but for smaller footprints like Tractor Supply, I think, and certain specialty markets. But I think the big stores for retail have really hit their peak. But that's the bad news for retail, because the average return rate for online buying is 25%, and that includes $10 jewelry to whatever, right? So it's a blended average, whereas in-store buying return rate is 9%, and as you all know, returns will absolutely kill your business. So we've had some good good uh, hits with Macy, but we're looking for more partners to bring it to market. As you all know, getting into the fashion and apparel business, you better have a lot of money, because to buy inventory and to do marketing the way it really needs to be done requires about 10 different rich uncles or aunts. And mine have all died. So, but we're getting there. It's just, it's a long struggle trying to build a brand. And when you go to buyers, back in the day of computers, we always used to say nobody got fired for buying IBM. And the same is true if you're trying to build a new brand. Nobody got fired for buying the brands they bought for the last 5 to 10 years and work. So nobody really wants to take on a risk of a new brand. So that's kind of been a fight that I've had, but it's it's, and for apparel, it's cyclical for rainwear. So you got buying cycles that are either 6 months or 12 months out. And I've got one potential customer that's 2 years out. So, and that's 2 years from an order, then another year to get paid. So I've started many businesses, and this is the hardest, not because of the design or getting product to market, but it's the hardest because trying to build a brand where you're going up against multi-billion-dollar brands is a lot different from a lot of the other businesses I've started. So it's a great business to be in, but it takes a lot of money to be successful at it.
1000% here. And you brought up some really good points. And, it's interestingly enough that you said that, it was a good thing that we got on a Walmart and it was a bad thing that we got on a Walmart. So I do want to come back to that conversation in a few minutes, because I think that is going to be an interesting topic in exactly how we were going to solve some of the conversations about building the high performing assortments. Because one of them is truly finding the right platforms to be in, or right retailers to be in, to place your product in the right place from the first hand, so that it does not hurt your brand in one way or the other, or potentially finding opportunities within the existing platforms, but finding out what really was potentially not the best thing about it, and how can we convert that into something that is best, so that can serve your needs and of your brand. So let's pause on that, Hugh. Thank you for sharing. I'd love to jump into that topic as soon as we've finished talking a little bit about more wins. Julie, you've shared an incredible win with us, so I'd love to give you a chance to share it to the group out loud, and maybe you can also tell us how you were able to come along with that opportunity.
Hi, nice to meet you guys all. My name is Julia. I am a ex-competitive figure skater, and so I just, I've always been around very high-level athletes being at a rink, and I just so happen to be training at a rink where top-level, Olympic level, worldwide known coaches were coaching their athletes, their talent, and I just saw an opportunity. I was in a very abusive relationship, a marriage, and I knew that I needed to find a way to make money, and I knew my marriage was coming to an end, and I just needed to find a way to support myself. And so I just saw an opportunity, and I'm 100% self-taught, taught myself how to sew, how to pattern, how to airbrush, how to paint, how to do everything. And it's been 4 years. It's a lot harder than I thought I was going to be.
Absolutely, but you're doing it, and you're here, so that's already incredible progress.
And some days are so hard.
They are definitely hard.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure everybody can nod on this one. Yes, they are definitely hard, and you just want to throw everything up in the air and say I quit, but then you come back to the next morning. Yes, that sounds familiar to most of us. Absolutely. And you've got into Olympics, it seems like, what you've seen.
Yeah, I've been able to accomplish in the 3 years that I've been doing this. I've been on many, mainly figure skating, it's world competitions, international competitions, competitions televised on TV, on mainstream TV, on several stream channels online. last Olympics, I got 2 costumes there, and I've had a few pay-per-view events for wrestling. I'm trying to get to what do you call it, WWE. My main goal is to maybe, hopefully, this is my wish, my dream, to do musicians for, you know, like shows like Coachella or whatever, make costumes for, but that's a dream. I don't know if I can get there.
All right. With the right strategy, you can get there for sure. So just it's all about the strategy. So definitely thank you for
Okay,
sharing that. That's beautiful.
thank you.
And Taherta, welcome as well. Yeah, you joined a little bit late. We're talking about some wins, and we're about to jump into challenges of building a high-performing assortment. So, guys, as we starting to unveil our topic further, let's now go ahead and write down all of the biggest challenge that we're currently experiencing around building your assortment or around your assortment performance. So let's share that in the chat so we can have start unveiling some of those conversations. And while we do that, I would love to start having a conversation and go back to Hugh, what Hugh has mentioned is the placement, right? The placement of your product when you are designing your particular brand. A lot of times we have a paradox that's going around that when we create an assortment, we put it out to sale, we then don't get the sales that we want, or we don't get the response that we want. The next thing we think about, well, it's because we don't have enough marketing. We don't have enough, the right message. We need a better marketing team. We need a better marketing channels that we are able to create a brand awareness. And yes, of course, the marketing is a big part of it. But I think a lot of times we're taking away the responsibility of actually going back and trying to understand, have we actually created the assortment that the customer, it responds to the customer's needs and wants. And a lot of times our creativity and our passion for the work that we're doing sometimes takes over and blindsides us from actually creating the assortment that speaks to our customers and connects to our customers on the emotional level, which we then see the results of it not selling. So choosing the right platform is part of it, right? It's part of it, and understanding who your customer is, what your customer needs and wants, so that and where your customer shops, so that when we do create the product that addresses the customer's needs and wants, we then put it on the platforms that they are shopping on for that, and so that they're able to address their needs and buy your product and get an exposure. So this is what we see commonly as a trend, that a lot of companies that come in to work with us, for example, they all come under the impression they need more help with marketing. And we find out as we start to peel the onion and go deep into the layers of how did they create their assortment in the first place, and what exactly they have done prior to creating their assortments. We have learned a lot, that a lot of times the paradigm breaks right there and then, that there were not enough research that was done initially validating the customer and the customer needs to be able to then create the assortment that fits into what the customers are trying to solve. I'd love to open up this to all of you guys. Would love to hear your thoughts on that topic, and see if there's any solutions that you guys are would recommend or have seen that you were able to try it on yourself to be able to solve for that. Hi, Annette.
Hey. Well, I work a lot with startup fashion brands in a similar way to you, I think. And I also find that a lot of the people I work with that come in to the fashion industry, and they have this glamorized vision of the bigger brands and how they need to perceive themselves, and it becomes very impersonal. And the ones that I see succeed are the ones who actually tap in to the personal story and start studying marketing in a way that comes not from the big brand, that more comes from a personal, and sharing a story, and like you say, looking at the customer, who they want, and also looking at why would they buy from you. Because if you compare yourself to a big brand, maybe you don't have the upper hand, but if you come with your personal story, then that changes it. And those are the people I see succeed the most.
100%. You said it exactly correctly. Perfect, Annette. Thank you for sharing it in. Anybody else? Eric, do you want to
Oh,
say?
sorry,
Yes,
I was
go
in the
ahead.
middle of talking to Joseph there about my my innovation. So it's a clickfitpants.com. It's a concept that I came up with where the button is adjustable along a rail. To be specific, it enables the user to adjust the button head tighter or looser along this 1-inch rail that gives you 5 different positions. So that's useful for the consumer as they encounter all these different issues, such as their own weight loss or weight gain. Even the manufacturers have a 1/2-inch tolerance on sizes. So if you're a 32 waist, you go to the store or you order online, as Hugh can attest, more people are doing. That it usually is either tighter or looser and leads to discomfort or just a go back, which, as Hugh was saying earlier, it just kills businesses. So this allows for more flexibility. It renders the garment more sellable to more people with this flexibility. And another advantage to this concept is it helps companies get away from those microplastics, with the stretch waistbands, which we all love, but maybe it's a good stepping stone to go back to natural fibers and get that flexibility. So there's a lot of wins for the concept. I'm currently in prototype phase, about to do a Kickstarter here pretty soon. Yeah, so that's a little bit about my thing,
And Eric, we've spoken last time that before you started Kickstarter, you're actually going to do one of the most important things that helps us to build high-performing assortment is your customer testing with the validations of your prototype as well as your idea and the need, and to really understand the need in the market. Have you guys able to do that yet?
Well, I've talked to Chris Waldeck of Lee, the CEO of Lee Jeans. He loves it. Just kind of what Hugh was saying, you have to kind of prove it in the market first. And Jonathan Chung, the lead designer for Levi's, once was for, I think, 12 years. He's all on board, loves it. Earlier in the year, I spoke with Adriana Goldschmied. He loves it, but his company is getting away from using metals at all. In fact, his rivets are even fabric now. So I've gotten great feedback from industry leaders. And so I just need to start getting this email funnel. So right now I did my own website and I'm patented. I have 3 patents domestically and I'm patent pending in Europe, India, and China. So I just need to get a step-by-step, like I heard earlier in this. It takes a while to get something off I think Julia was saying how it takes some time to get things launched, and I'm learning as I go, and being a part of groups like this is useful for me. And I know it's not going to be my own line. I plan on licensing the advancement and utility to apparel companies so that they can improve their sales, reduce returns, and have a little more predictability with their production runs. Because when you have a pant that fits just one person or one size, it's a crapshoot whether that's going to sell or not, or sit in a box in a warehouse somewhere. So I like to try to, which is relevant to this particular conversation, is making your assortment have a high chance of selling. So I could see how this could help different brands. So anyway, yeah, Kickstarter. I'm working on trying to get an email funnel, get a grassroots emailing list, and those who want to, get a pair of pants for like $100, 50 of it will go towards getting out of prototype phase, and the other will go to some company, probably a company in LA that would fulfill my donor list, and maybe they would be my first licensee, and then I could track the metrics to see if it indeed improves sales, makes the garment last longer, reduces returns, and then just kind of keep that model going and start helping other apparel brands. That's my goal.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. So one of the couple of questions that I hear from Eric is about to start Kickstarter. Hugh started on Walmart, was not very satisfied with the Walmart. Now finally getting onto Macy's, which Hugh and I had a conversation prior. So I think definitely better placement for Hugh's product. However, so I wanted to kind of bring up a question to everyone in this group. What do you think that could be done that we would be able to then, before we even jump into launching or even a campaign as Kickstarter, to where do we actually strategize, take a step back and strategize what would be the right platform to launch it on? Because I think the performance of the assortment is not just, it's also really heavily codependent to making sure that the platform is right for that particular launch or for that particular product. So
Cool.
I'd love to open up to the group before I add some of my thoughts. Anybody wants to chime in on that one? Go ahead, Hugh.
Yeah, I think I'll use me as an example because I tried to get into fashion, and the first people I talked to was Von Maur. And as soon as I told the woman buyer that we sold to Walmart, she said, we're out. So if you want to sell to fashion, and you want to go to other markets like outdoors, you should have a different brand to sell to outdoor. Like I sell the Brella in outdoor. If I want to get back into fashion, I'm going to sell it under the Etanche brand, ETANCHE, which is French for waterproof. And so when I did the fashion show, magic show down in New York a year and a half ago, I got a real awakening because marketing in fashion is marketing basically illusion. If you want to market an outdoor space, you're marketing reality. You want to see how it performs 2 hours in the rain for hunting and fishing. There is no, for fashion, you don't need 2 hour protection. When it rains in 5 minutes, you're indoors. So you don't need the level of protection, right? And so plus, if you're going to compete against, everybody thinks that Walmart just reduces prices. They don't. And my problem with Walmart has been part of the problem has been working with their distribution center. If you don't have everything labeled right, it never gets into their system. It could be received by them, but they don't put it into their system. You get a very poor rating, and therefore, when they search for rain jackets on Walmart, you never come up in the searches because your rating is below 95%. So it's you got to know your market, right? And I will confess, I thought I was smarter than I was and learned about how dumb I was. And it's just the reality of the markets you're going to get into. You really got to understand them, right? And like Eric, for your product, a high-end fashion, and I don't know a lot about fashion, but if you've got it sounds like it's almost a unisex type product like I have, that limits your market to, if people are looking for tight-fitting goods that probably may not, given as I understand your product, that I may not, it's not going to necessarily work. If you want something that has the ability to expand based on body size, like plus size versus a regular size woman, right, versus a man, okay, it's a whole totally different market. So you going from what I learned, and this is the 9th business I've started. I've never been in any of the businesses I've started, which shows how arrogant or stupid I am, one or the other or both. But it's a tough market to be into, but you really ought to understand who your customers are. And by the way, that changes every year. And knowing that, you got to know, if you want to sell to the young people, it's TikTok. It's not the other media, right?
That's right. That's what I'm doing. I'm starting to open up into social media and do just short spots, announcing a Kickstarter launch that's soon to come. So, including, all, like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, through even LinkedIn and maybe some Amazon ads announcing this, and then just see where it goes, and then track have a company help me with that, because I think there's a learning curve to all of this stuff, and I think there's people in place who can do this better than me. So I'm good at the advertising part of it, but the the website stuff like that, making sure I'm dialed in with all the social, and then being able to track those and then hit it really big. Because again, it's going to be, if you come to a company with a bunch of sales, like if I have like thousands of people who want this, then that turns heads more than if you don't. So I'm at the point where I really need a grassroots effort and be able to have this email list of people that are interested. And again, I'm not coming out with it myself. This would be for me to partner with an apparel brand and have an offering that appeals to the consumer. And I'm thinking like a medium-sized company to start out with, that once I have the money, we finish the engineering and get the box of them, then they can start going into production with it, and have it on their website. And because I have on my website at clickfitpants.com, I only have like 3 samples, and those are prototypes. So I want the consumer to feel like I've thought about variety for them. So I would work with whatever apparel brand would be the best suit.
So
Are your patents utility or design?
I have 2 utility patents that are granted in 1 design, and then I'm the ones that are international are all utility, and it's a really strong utility. It describes it really well.
That's good, because I found out last week in talking to an IP attorney, because we're looking for licensees as well, that utility patents in apparel are not very frequent. And I have 2 utilities, one design pending.
Mhm.
But utility in apparel is not frequent. So you may have something that's
Yeah,
is your purpose for crowdfunding just to gain some kind of market visibility so people know what's out there?
no, because on my website, I'm announcing a concept for apparel brands to use on their line. So my goal is, again, to get enough people interested so that I can then turn to an apparel company and say, look, I've got 5,000 orders right here. If you'd like to fulfill these orders, make it a good price so I can get myself out of prototype. Then,
Well, you can, if you go to a crowdfunding like Indiegogo or the other Kickstarter, okay,
Mhm.
you're the one who has to fulfill those orders. You can't pawn those orders off to somebody else.
No, I
Otherwise-
understand. I understand. So yeah, you're right. So it's like cart before the horse. Make sure you have your resources. I have backup ideas. I mean, there's for the prototypes I have a company who made those for me, like handmade those pants, but they end up being expensive like that. I would rather be able to say, okay, go to Reformation and choose your pants. They'll put that button on there, and then now we have a website where I'm drawing traffic to Reformation, and Reformation has agreed to put this on whatever pant the customer wanted.
So Eric, just exactly to what you just said, and backing up Hugh's point for this particular sense is, before you jump in and building a crowdfunding campaign, you got to think through how you actually going to fulfill that order. But
Mhm.
how do you want to, if this is your gateway to get into front of the right retailer who is willing to test, why not start there to actually partner up and collaborate on this crowdfunding opportunity, to where you bringing them the opportunity saying, hey, I have the solution, you have the manufacturing capabilities, or finding a manufacturer who would be willing to work with you on this particular aspect. so that you are able to then, when you do your crowdfunding, then they, to your point, exactly do what you said. They will bring them the customer and interest.
Right.
They fulfill the order, so they actually also gaining the recognition for their brand, as well as you are proving your
Yeah,
concept and getting your
totally. It's
fun.
about scratching each other's back. If I can draw people in, but first I have to get these ads out and then have that interest.
That is not correct. That is not
Well,
correct.
I'm announcing it. It's called a pre Kickstarter, where you gauge the public interest in the product. They say, yeah, if you can do that, great. Here's my email for a future Kickstarter. So you can imagine if I have thousands of people who want this pant, and I haven't run across anybody who doesn't like the idea. So I think it would go well. I haven't reached out to the public with this yet. So we'll see. But if I have like a short Instagram thing and then I'm able to draw some sort of funnel of emails, that's more persuasive. Then I could turn to a company, like you're saying, like what I've been planning, is to turn to a company and say, yeah, I've got 5,000 orders. Are you interested? If you are, then I'll turn on my Kickstarter program, announce it through my email chain that, hey, you got 2 months to put your money in and let's get you your pants, So yeah, it's a matter of me needing to reach out to the public before I go further.
All right, sounds good. Another great brand for you to potentially collaborate called check them out. They are on the they're I think in San Francisco, called Better Brand, and they are all about performance. They do, and they sometimes even do competitions where you can actually submit your design and they'll manufacture it and they'll pay you residuals off of the sales. But they are great with collaborators, and they are right up your alley in terms of actually creating a high-performing pants.
On scale, though, right? On scale.
On scale, they're very big. Yeah.
Yeah, that, and so that would be an issue for me because they don't have a website where my donors could go to and say, oh, I don't like those pants, but I like these pants. Like I'd rather have a company that's already making pants agree to this idea.
They are making pens.
They do. So then they have a menu of things my customers could go to. Okay, got it.
Yeah, check them out. That could be a
Better
good
brands. Okay.
Yeah, Better Brands.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I know we have two manufacturers on the call as well. I think Saeeb, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, so I'd like to welcome you to the conversation. And then we have another one is Tehreta. So I would love to guys welcome you both. So we do have two manufacturers on the call. So hopefully that whomever is trying to solve for some manufacturing capabilities, you guys may be able to get in contact and help each other. But in terms of your guys' perspective, you guys working with a lot of clients, especially probably hopefully in the US market, what do you guys are seeing the challenges for them for those brands to create high performing assortments?
I believe the competitive price, because every buyer from US, I mentioned earlier in your session. So like here in Bangladesh, I like those from the US buyers, they're actually looking for cheap goods, cheap materials, cheap competitive factory stitches. That's what all they need. They all see, first they attempt to buy the cheap product, then they make it like you have the cheap labor. I can make it from Vietnam, I can make it from China. So why I put my order to your country or to your factory? So that time we become so vulnerable, because my family are actively in this business near about 30 years. So I am here in third generation entrepreneur. So I'm trying to make myself like, I'm trying to promote circular fashion, mostly in Bangladesh, like the Bangladesh circumstances, because it's a EU convention and EU are quite like, they're trying to practice it. So it's a matter of 2050s promotions. So that's their insight. So I'm trying to make myself and trying to give away, like I am making things more accountable. I don't want to work with those buyers who are actually looking for cheap products and makes our country more vulnerable in some manner. Like they're giving us the cheap labor price, and they're seeking Chinese material, and those which is not good for our environment as well. So these are the facts we should consider when we are dependent, and we have the like these are the industry we have. Like it is the huge industry for us. Like these are the industry that give us the very big revenue for our running the country. So that's the consideration we want to take, and that's my organization doing it in Bangladesh prospect. But I think and I believe, as I talk with you with a consultant like who is in French, he suggests me like if you have someone foreigner like who is in EU or someone from West, so he can or she can directly tell your buyer. So this is the mechanism you need to work with this process. So that would be easier. But like in developing countries such from Bangladesh, nobody want to partnership. Like only Chinese people come to here in Bangladesh, and like those people actually like the West people like EU and American, those who are actually concerned about the fashion, they are not actually uh, making any partnership. Like in some extent I talk with Material Exchange, and Material Exchange is a Sweden based startup. So what I told them, and I tried to connect with them like there is a very good market if you want to practice sustainable product. Like if you have time you can go through Material Exchange. So they're sourcing the best sustainable goods from all over the world, and they're making it footwear, and they're making it also in apparel. So I told them to come here to Bangladesh and make their presentation here in Bangladesh. But they, after the feasibility test, they just told me, dude, the market is too small for us. So this is too alas for me. Like when I am the highest producer, garments producer, and I am contributing around 60%, 70% from Bangladesh. But the sustainable practice, when it's come to sustainable practice, when it's come to the right manner, they think this is not the right business place to implement it. So that's the hollership we like. I am young, I am 26, so I don't lose my hope, because I have seen my father's uncle's hardship, and I have seen how actually uh, the crook buyer actually like first they order it, then they cancel it, then they bargain it, then they try to make things like next time you have to discount me. So these are the facts I have been seized in my life. So I don't want to practice those things. That's why in my like right now I am producing lingerie and sportswear for the EU person, for the Scandinavian country. So those people who really values those composite, who really valued my hardship. So that's why I don't want to work with those people, those buyers who are actually looking for cheap price, looking for uh, uh, who doesn't care about the environment. So that's my fact. So I am working on it, and if I get your attention, like these are the very good session you have been doing, and I really what I really care about. You first told this is not a selling thing, so you don't want to you don't have to like go away. So that's the thing. That's the networking things make us more prominent for our world and for better apparel industry. Thank you very much.
100%. Thank you, Saeed. Thank you. And Kamel, you guys are experiencing this similar situations, but you are different region, different country, Turkey, right? You guys, but it's unfortunately for both Bangladesh and Turkey, it's both very difficult to penetrate the market because I think there is just a perception of certain type of quality, certain type of service that has been built up over the generations. And now you guys are coming, new generation who's trying to break through with all of this amazing new technologies that you guys are developing, circular fashion in the Saib's case. Kamel, do you want to share some of what where do you see your clients are struggling when it comes to building a high performance assortments?
Well, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, if I want to speak about clients that are usually starting new brands, most of the time they have, maybe they're very creative, but they don't have a lot of market experience. So that's where the struggle with these kind of clients come from. In my experience, it's not the price issue. It's when we work with new brands starting new, they usually have designs usually made by themselves or by freelance designers that have not much experience in manufacturing. So they give you designs or sketches that look nice in the sketch, but not necessarily practical to manufacture or to wear. Sometimes they have problems with being commercially unviable designs to make. And so it takes time to work with them to show them how they can improve their designs, ideas, or collections. Sometimes they are receptive to these kind of advice, sometimes not. So it really depends on the clients, but that's a main issue we face with new brands.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. You just brought exactly everything into a big one sum. I see Annette is nodding because I know Annette, you're in the same in the same boat. So we are here to help lots of entrepreneurs to kind of depending on where they are in the spectrum, to be able to achieve those results. And yes, Kamel, thank you and say both of you guys for dating what we are seeing in the market as well. So I'd love to really just summarize from what we've heard and then kind of draw some ideas from how we could this potentially be addressed, right? So we have heard and kind of discussed a little bit about finding the right platforms and understanding your customer needs, understanding your customer wants and where they actually are, so that we can align when we are creating the product in order for it to give it a chance to succeed, to be able to launch it in the right platforms, so that it is in the right groups of customers who are in a group hands, so that it will not hurt your brand in the long run. In Hugh's case, I know he tried multiple different ways, but I think today he's fully, truly understanding that if I want to be a true performance brand and I want to be able to be in outdoor stores and retailers, this is what I need to do. And this is what the platforms I need to be on, so that I could be able to actually get my product in front of the right customer and the right consumer, because this is what he's trying to solve in more of a technical aspect of true performance product, right? In Eric's case, we've talked about in the sense of trying to understand what are the capabilities of his product and his patent is going to do, and then putting that in front of the right customers. But I think a lot of what's happening that we don't take a lot of time to actually understand the market, and as entrepreneurs we tend to rush, and I always say tend to focus on two of the beautiful fun things to do, which is the product development, which is the creation, which is the actually doing the beautiful design, but we don't think a lot about the actual business aspect, that product needs to be sold, that product needs to be manufactured. So a lot of times where we try to talk about is the lean design models, and the lean design models have to do with truly understanding the target of what you're trying to go after, focus and bring in less is more, right? Philosophy is that you don't need to come out with a huge line outside of the door right from the very beginning to be able to launch it. You potentially might just need to come up with one item, right? So that would be a great example of Hugh or of Eric. Come up with one thing, but make it right. Make it so that the customer absolutely wants it. But then understanding as well how to be able to actually design it in the way where it becomes practical and profitable for you to be able to manufacture. And this is where it becomes, when it becomes profitability and simplicity of being able to produce it and ties really well with the profitability aspect of it. But it's where also we can be able to then take into the factories like Saib or Kamel's or the Hretas, to where we could be able to take into the factories and listen to their capabilities, listen to what they have to say, what they be able to bring to the table, and design into their capabilities so that you are able to bring the best into your product, into your assortment. A lot of times we design completely blindly without even knowing who our potential suppliers might be. And so we're not utilizing what those suppliers can actually bring to the table to enhance your assortment. So for example, in our way, we in a way we try to approach this, we always say, before you even start designing, start building your supply chain. Build your supply chain, understand who at least the potential factories that you're planning to work with, understand what they're best at, and be able to utilize, take those elements and then design with those elements in mind, in those as your toolbox, to be able to actually come up with a functional design that works for your customer needs. So reverse engineer it, right? Instead of designing it. Go ahead, Hugh.
In selecting your factory, you really need to understand what your import duties are, because that will totally change your landed costs. So if I make a rain jacket in China and try to get it into Canada, it's 18% duty. If I make it in Bangladesh, it's 0% duty. In the US, it's similar. In Mexico, the guy told me it was 500%. I'm not sure he's right, but so you really need to understand what your landed cost is, because you can bet the best factory in the world in China and find out it's going to cost you $5 more landed than if you do it in another country. And by the way, a lot of Chinese companies are losing a lot of business. People are moving out of China. And a lot of the Chinese are going to Bangladesh, Vietnam, and they're setting up factories there, which is okay too. But your landed cost is everything, because that's what you base your MSRP on. And what your duties are today can change tomorrow based upon whether the US government gets pissed off at that government, or who's president or whoever. Okay. And those duties, they change every day. So you got something on the boat coming over, by the time it gets landed, you may get 3x duty that you originally thought you were going to get. And by the way, who you're selling it to, they're not going to absorb it. You are.
You're 100%.
Yeah, that even relates to my product, which is about, I guess they call it the sundries, right? A button is a sundry. So yeah, for the manufacturing of the actual button, I have options, and I hadn't heard the differences about the duties. So if I import those buttons, that's just going to add to the cost, which I want to try to keep as minimal as possible here in the beginning.
So you also have to know, it's called the harmonized code, Schedule B code, okay? And one's 10-digit and one is 6-digit. Based on that code will determine your duty. Now, you may get buttons made out of plastic or made out of metal or made out of something else, and based on the material of that button will determine your import rate.
Okay.
Okay, so if you need to go to the harmonized code, or I think it's the 10-digit one. You need to go through those, and you'll be amazed at, like in clothing, based on, is it 100% polyester? Is it polyester in this? Is it polyester that stretches? All of these have different duty rates. So understanding, all the things you want to import, it goes to landed costs. And duties are a huge part of that. And so
thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, all you got to do is just Google Schedule B chart, and it all comes up, but you'll absolutely be blown away by all the classifications. If you get into electronics and you see all the classification by megabits and everything else that they have for computers, it's astounding. And they update it all the time just because of the speed of computers and everything else. But knowing that what that material is will determine the rate of duty that you're going to import it.
So Hugh, I have a question. Tourette mentions on the chat here, another great option is producing in South America or Mexico to avoid the duties being mentioned. So some countries don't have duties?
Yeah, I depending on the Schedule B number, and they and the Schedule B numbers are the same for every country around the world. This way, it's real easy to keep track of. And so, based upon the agreement with, let's say, Guatemala in the U.S. and Mexico in the U.S., for that specific Schedule B number will determine whether or not there's duties or not duties on it. So
not only
have
that,
to-
Eric, so sorry, Hugh, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Not only that, Eric, you can also look at, and this is where it's important to diversify your supply chain, like what we spoke last roundtable, if you remember, because you do have some countries that are under different agreements, NAFTA agreements. Philippines has PESA agreement. There's Egypt has another type of an agreement. So there's all different types of agreements that are happening politically that, and they do change. So you have to stay on top of it. So when you do build your supply chain, you do want to make sure that you are at least have a backup plan. If that something happens in your A country and something politically changes, then you could be able to make the shift fairly quickly and fairly simply.
Yeah. My again, I won't be coming out with it. I'll be licensing this to
Right.
companies, but I still have to be the one behind, like tying who's my vendor to supply it to them.
Correct. 100%.
So yeah, so totally
100%.
point taken.
Yes.
you're going to have to come up with baseline pricing to whoever you want to license this with. And
Right.
then they have a baseline, and they've got people that specialize in this and can find out the best place to do it.
That's
If you
right.
gotta give them a baseline. It's like I think Annette makes tech packs. You know, if I want to do have something manufactured, I got to give somebody a tech pack so they know how many stitches per inch, what the trims are, what the quality, what the quality of the zippers are, and everything else. And you know, you got, it's basically a bill of materials. You have to give somebody, if you say to the licensee, go figure it out, they'll say, have a nice day, and they'll move on to somebody else.
1,000%.
Right.
Putting up a really good
in
point.
there. Just a quick one.
I'm
Just
sorry,
what I
Annette?
thought for Eric as well. Think about all the testing that you might need to carry out, because
yeah.
a bigger company, I mean, they're gonna have to have the proof of all
Yeah.
the metals going in and how they perform and like all the
Here's a picture. Well, here's the prototype. It's
Oh,
an
exciting.
yeah, and so you can just move
Right.
the over, and then you can. This is where it locks, and then you pick up the head to move it back that way.
That's amazing.
If you want to tighten it, you just move it that way, and if you want to loosen it, you just pick it up and choose your.
Thank you for sharing that, Eric. That's awesome. Guys,
Yeah.
I do want to be mindful of everybody's time. So I just want to couple of things that I wanted to also throw out. Once you build the assortment for it to successfully succeed in the market, especially when we're going to the e-com market, we definitely want to also stress enough that we want to be able to have a good representation of what your product is through proper images, through proper videos, making sure that they're meeting the industry standards. So the second paradigm that we often see, that it's not the marketing that the issue is, of lack of marketing. Obviously that is a big deal, but a lot of times when we go back in into looking at the assortments and the way they are then represented, the quality of images sometimes are really poor, not just in the resolution and the how it really, but it's just the way how the image has actually been taken, right? So whether it's not been done in the professionally with the professional photography, or it has not been done where it really zooms in and shows the quality of each of the products. So making sure that we actually, when we do create the assortment and we do ready to launch it on the right platform, once we identified what that is that we do have the right we invest the right time and money with the people who are able to deliver you the assets that you can then sell the product with. Hugh brought up a really great point. Today's environment, it's still a 50-50 where people buy in brick and mortar versus they're going online. When in brick and mortar, they have an opportunity to touch your product. Online, they don't. So what will sell is your images. What you will sell was your videos, your 360 videos, 360 view videos. your images of multiple type of views, your lifestyle images mixed in with the product images, knowing what converts when the women buying versus what converts when men buying, because they have very different shopping habits. They pay attention to different and attract to different type of images as well. So thinking about that as part of your layering, how you're going to build your high performing assortment that you could be able to then launch it. So and make sure that it converts into sales. Imagery is another really important aspect that a lot of us don't, as entrepreneurs, don't think about. We think, well, we have images, but no one really thinks about, well, what kind of images do you actually have? Does it actually tell the story that you need? So with that, I really hope that you guys got some ideas. I mean, those are the ideas that we have implemented with many of our clients. We've seen great results. I'm happy to extend and have a conversation with you guys offline. If anybody's interested in having a free call with me, a one-on-one, so we could be able to kind of dive in a little bit more into your challenges, let me know. Lisa will send you a link to my calendar. Otherwise, I'd love to just reserve 1 minute of this remaining minute that we have to see if I can get some feedback about this roundtable, if you guys found it valuable, so that portion I can share it out with others, so that we can continue get more people coming into those roundtables, so that they can see that they're getting the value that they need. So if you guys want to just jump on the call, I'm going to record this piece, and then we can share that out with our next roundtable when we invite, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you, Ye, for having me back again, and being able to network with everybody here, and just listening to everyone about the challenges they face, and I just find the whole thing intriguing. I'm learning as I go. So hearing all these little details, I mean, it's hard to know what you'll end up learning, but through stuff like that, joining groups like yours, it's been great. I mean, Hugh talking about, what he was, the Schedule B stuff. I hadn't even thought of that before, and many other topics. So thank you again, Ye.
Thank you, Eric. Hopefully we see you next time. Anybody else want to jump in and share what value this call brought them? Go ahead, Hugh.
I think this is great, yeah, that, I mean, we all have the same mission, and that is in the same area of fashion and apparel to bring products to market. And although generically we all have the same mission, the way to get there based upon the product and a lot of other exogenous variables, it's all different. Although it's the same, it's all different. And to learn from each other's, walking a mile in somebody's moccasins, you can learn an awful lot about what you thought you knew and found out that you didn't. And A is not always equal to B. And so, and sometimes it's not equal to A either. So
1,000%. Thank you, Hugh. That's really valuable feedback. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Go ahead, Kamel.
Thank you for having me today. It's fashion and apparel is a very fast moving market. And as a manufacturer, it's a great opportunity for me to listen to different entrepreneurs in the industry, see what they're thinking about for the future, new ideas, see what's working and not. And that's definitely helped me when dealing with my clients, and now I can advise them and what they to set up the expectations also for myself, what my clients expect from me. So yeah, it's a great opportunity and event.
Thank you, Kamel. I appreciate for your feedback. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, yay. If I would love to have a little bit of time aside with you alone. And also, if I could just chime in and request possibly in the next meeting, if there is a slot that we can input, sort of challenges that we're having or obstacles or anything that we have questions about, like that we can request ahead of time, so you can put in the menu of the meeting ahead so we know what is going to be covered.
Okay, that's a good feedback. Sounds good. Perfect. We'll try.
Thank
We'll
you.
try to implement something like that.
Thank you so much.
Julie. And then Lisa, can you please share with Julie the link so that she can book the time?
I appreciate you.
Absolutely welcome. Appreciate you being on the call. Anybody else wants to jump in? Annette, Joseph, Saeed.
I'll go. I just want to say it was really good. Thank you for having me, because I thought it's just even just listening to other people and see where they are in the industry and challenges that come up. It kind of just gets me going and thinking like, wow, this is why I'm in fashion. So yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
very inspiring.
That's cool.
Good.
Thank you.
So
This is
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, Joseph, you want to join, add in anything? I know we didn't get a chance to let you speak this time. I'm sorry. But hopefully you've learned a lot by just listening.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that was kind of my big thing is I like to come to something and just am open to see what it's about. And I didn't really know what this was going to be about, and I didn't have to speak the whole time, and I got to learn so much. And I love how you just kind of went with the flow and let everyone here talk when they felt inspired to talk and share. So I thought it was very fluid. I didn't speak because I was learning the whole time. So grateful to be surrounded by people who are more experienced than me and are willing to share some of those experiences to help, others come up a little faster, less tough love out there. And so the more you share, the more you learn. And I appreciate you facilitating that for myself and everyone here.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. All right, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate for all your time for being here. I really hope to see you guys on our next roundtable next month. So really excited to see you guys all. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to help, provide any information I can possibly help strategize some of the solutions with you guys. Have a
Great.
good rest of the day. Thank you, guys. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Hey, yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So everyone